Hello, welcome to a new video. If you are new here, my name is Amandine and I've been living in Singapore for almost 5 years now. And on this channel, I like to share about anything that's happening in Singapore. Today, I want to share with you some of the habits I've picked up in Singapore. Some are fun, some are the opposite of my French genes. So I think it could be fun to share that with you. And if you have been in Singapore for a while, let me know if you have picked up the same habits or if you are moving to Singapore soon. At least you know what to expect. Let's start with something simple but yet surprising. Eating on the floor. In France, I was very much used to dining chairs and dining table, but in Singapore, I got used to have my meals on the coffee table. I really mean when I'm at home, outside. Only at the Japanese restaurant you will eat on the floor, otherwise you will eat on the proper table. But at home I bought two lazy sofas that are on the floor so that we can sit more comfortably around the coffee table. In Singapore, in some living room, you can find this mattress that people will lay in their living room, mostly for young kids so that they don't hurt themselves, but also like just everyone like to chill in this area because you can just lay on the floor and it's really much comfortable and friendly. There's definitely something about being close to the floor that is nice, and somehow I've picked up this habit. The next one is about drinking hot water. Yes, even in this tropical climate, it's actually more common to drink hot water than cold. In France, it's not even something we envision. Usually we always keep the water in the fridge to have cold water or like maybe room temperature water, but we will never drink just warm water. But now I got used to it. It's believed to be better for your digestion and for your overall health. So if you go out in a restaurant in Singapore, it's really often that they are gonna serve you a warm drink upon arrival. Cold drink is not even an option in many cases. So now I feel I'm also able to enjoy teas more. In Singapore you can find really good teas, so it's quite enjoyable to go around and find what you like. When it comes to work habits, Singapore has definitely influenced me. Now I really don't mind answering messages after work hours or even putting some extra hours. In France we have a clear boundary between work and personal life, but here in Singapore the lines is more blurred. It's still very important to maintain clear boundaries with your employer. Being passionate about my job as a software developer in real estate industry in Singapore, it really doesn't bother me putting the extra effort even though we don't have a tight schedule or anything like that. One of my favorite changes about my daily life since I moved to Singapore is that now I'm able to go shopping after 8 p.m. In Singapore, many stores are open till late, maybe 10 p.m. or even 11 p.m. It really cannot compare to France where more stores are closing by 6 p.m. So with work you can see how difficult is it to find the time to go shopping if you need something. In France you will often rush after work, or you will have a dedicated day where you're gonna do all your groceries like the Saturday, and then the malls are going to be full of people. But here in Singapore my work is not an issue. I can just go shopping when it's more convenient for me. When you shop at night also, it means that there are fewer people shopping at the same time as you. So overall, shopping in Singapore is really more relaxing and enjoyable. Talking about finances openly is another habit that I've picked up in Singapore. In France, discussing money can be quite taboo and success is often not as shared. In France, discussing money can be quite taboo and often you won't share your success. However, in Singapore, people are more open about their earnings, their expenses and their overall financial situation. In France, it would be definitely rare to discuss how much you earn, and it can even be seen as being impolite. But in Singapore, friends, for example, will openly share about their income so that they get a good sense of what's the job market like. Another example is if you want to know the salaries of any job in Singapore, you can go on Glassdoor and they will tell you the salary of the previous employees. Success is viewed more positively and is also linked to hard work, where in France success can be viewed with suspicions, as if it's the result of trickery or unfair advantage. People also discuss openly about the cost of living in Singapore, whether it's rent, utilities or other expenses. I mean, I'm happy to take part of this transparency by sharing my own cost of living in Singapore so that you can have more realistic pictures of what living in Singapore is like, and also make more informed decision and budget more effectively. People also like to share about the price of things just to get a point of reference. Whether it's the price of a car, it's a tech gadget or clothing, people will often say how much they pay for that so that they can compare prices and know who got the best deal. There is a bit of curiosity but also competitiveness in that, but it's not done in a negative spirit. It's more in the idea of sharing good deals. It's almost like a sport. Finding the cheapest price is the challenge. And even beyond that, financial literacy is really emphasized here. From a young age, Singaporeans are taught the importance of saving money, investing money, and spending money wisely. So this mindset has definitely influenced me on being more proactive about my money and planning for my future. Another unique habit I've picked up in Singapore is chopping table at the food court. This practice is definitely strange to outsiders, but it's a tradition that is really well established and respected here. In France, leaving your belongings unattended would be unthinkable because of the risk of theft. But in Singapore, chop is a way of reserving a table in a busy food court or hawker center. The most common way of chopping is with a packet of tissue that you will leave on the table, marking to others that this table is the one you choose to sit. You can also use umbrella, water bottle, business card, your bag, anything can do. The first few times I left my things on my table, I was definitely worried, but it was always there every time I came back with my food. Now, dressing for comfort has become an habit when living in Singapore. Coming from France, we often prioritize style over comfort, but in Singapore, the heat and the humidity is terrible, so I definitely had to adapt my wardrobe to stay comfortable throughout the day. It means loose-fitting clothing instead of tight clothes that can trap the heat and the sweat, making you feel even hotter. Also, choosing clothes with natural fabrics so that they dry easily. In Singapore, layering isn't practical due to the high temperatures, so instead I'm really an adept of minimal outfits. Dresses, shorts, simple tops are really my go-to. You have to find your own balance between looking good and still feeling comfortable. Like even concerning footwears, I barely wear any high heel or big shoes in Singapore, but instead I'm 100% of the time wearing sandals. Also more practical when it's raining. And I mean, you can see like even my hair, managing your hair in a humid environment is really difficult. I have many friends who have cut their hair short. I'm not here yet, but I most of the time just have my hair in a ponytail to prevent that sweaty, sticky feeling behind your neck. Another habit, but this one is like a bad habit, is that I became less careful living in Singapore. Sometimes I forgot to lock the door, or I will forget my phone in the cab or in the public toilet. But like I'm never really stressed about it because I was always able to find my stuff back. I was never scared that the thief would take my belonging out in the street. But of course, while Singapore has a low crime rate, we often say that low crime is not no crime, so you still should be careful. It's a habit I need to be mindful of. Being in this kind of safe environment is really easy to become complacent. Just like walking at night is something I really cherish in Singapore because it's so safe, and as a woman I never felt in danger. Also, one of the most liberating habits that I've picked up while in Singapore is going out without a bag. Often when I go out I just have my phone and I have my house keys that I will keep in my pocket. The primary reason why this is possible is the integration of technology in everyday life. Singapore is very digitalized, so many services are accessible through your phone. For example, most people use their phone to pay for public transportation. You can just tap in and out the MRT using your phone. You actually don't need a dedicated card just for that. Then you have mobile payment like PayNow, ShopBack that allow you to pay for your groceries, your shopping, and even your food at hawker centers without the need of cash or cards. And even if you need cash, in Singapore there are some banks that allow you to withdraw cash without having the physical card. For example, I'm with UOB and I can go to the ATM and do cardless withdrawal. The same way I tap to make a payment, I can tap to withdraw cash. And also, Singapore is very small and compact, so you are never too far from your home. If you forget something, you can easily return home to pick it up. There are also a lot of convenience stores around, so if you need something, you can just go and get it anytime. Actually, in Singapore, even your ID is digital, so you never really need to carry your physical identification card. So with all those, I rarely feel the need to have a bag. If I have a bag, it's really because I'm carrying something bigger, maybe my camera or like a book, but otherwise I would just go without. And finally, one of the most enjoyable habits I've picked up in Singapore is speaking Singlish. For those who are not too familiar with Singlish, it's basically a local slang. It's blending English with words and grammar from Malay, Tamil and various Chinese dialects such as Hokkien, Cantonese and Mandarin. When I first arrived in Singapore, Singlish sounded like a different language to me. It's based on English, but really the rhythm, the intonation and the vocabulary can be quite hard to understand at first. But after immersing myself in the local culture for almost 5 years now, I understand some of the nuances and I find it really efficient and fun. One of the most distinctive features of Singlish is the use of small particles such as la, lo, le. Those small words are added at the end of the sentence and they convey different emotions. They use also many words from other languages. For example, from Malay, they often say makan, which means to eat. And the structure of a sentence can be very different from regular English to be more concise and efficient. For example, instead of saying I have eaten already, you will say I eat already. But if you stay in the work setting, you will usually not hear any Singlish as it's more commonly used with friends and in informal settings. Most Singaporeans are able to do what we call code switching, where in the professional setting, they will use formal English, but then they will speak more casually otherwise. Knowing Singlish definitely helps in the integration in the local community. It often makes people smile hearing my English because Singapore is the first country where I've spoken English. So most of the English I've learned is from Singapore. So this might be the biggest habit I've picked up in Singapore. But here you have it. Those are all the habits I've picked up since I moved to Singapore. It's really fascinating how living in a different culture can change your daily routine and preferences. But there are definitely French habits I've kept in Singapore, like eating cheese with everything and saying hi to everyone I see. So let me know if you want to hear about those. But for now, share with me which are the habits you've picked up while living in Singapore. Let's discuss in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye bye!